my inspiration for the types of things I wanted to write, the types of stories I wanted to tell. And that would be Frank Peretti in his books, This Present Darkness and Piercing the Darkness. Those were inspirations for me in the types of stories I wanted to tell. It depicted like like a normal story, well, not a normal, but the human element of the story of a preacher and a university town and professors and media, newspaper editor, journalist, what have you, in the first book. And it was about like the occult element trying to inject the university students with their occult like beliefs, right? And this was written in the 80s. Now it's not so much occult beliefs that is being injected, but it's pretty close to that. It's like, leftist, communist, socialist type ideas that are being injected into the universities now. And that was a thing that was happening kind of in the 80s. I think it's always been going on with communism, really, but this was overtly, the story was occultism. And it depicts and shows like the struggle in the invisible spiritual realm of angels and fallen angels and demons, like fighting each other. And the angels would have more power based on the faith and the prayers of the Christian believers. And the people who did the occult practices gave the fallen angels and demons more power based on their weird practices, I guess. In the second book, it went to like a younger grade school, I guess, like a grade school level. Particular case of a lot of stuff going on in the second book. I didn't think the spiritual aspect of the invisible struggles was as interesting in this one as the story itself was pretty good without that part. It just kind of, I mean, as Christians, you believe in the spiritual realm and that these beings are acting on our behalf on one way or the other. And that type of stuff is always going on. And this book kind of lets you see that in a really cool way. But the second book, it was like a kind of the same thing with the occult stuff. They were injecting this into the younger grade schools and teaching like young kids how to summon their inner animal being or what have you. And it was very borderline, just opening yourself up to full-on demonic possession. That's basically what it was. And all this stuff, it seems crazy to think about that it was written in the 80s. And now we see this overblown furry thing in this weird furry community. And that kind of, and now this weird ideologies and stuff being pushed in our education from grade school on up to university level. And it's all a bunch of weird identity stuff, LGBTQAIO, EIAO. You could be whatever you imagine it to be, and shame on you for not accepting me as the imaginary thing that I think I am. So that it was this one incident in the second book. I guess the kid was acting like an animal and not snapping out of it because they were like fully into this inner being of the animal thing that they summon into their self. So this teacher, preacher guy, whatever, pastor guy, I'm not sure, he decided to give her a spanking, snap out of it. And he got in trouble. He got his own kids taken away, and there was a huge court thing about it, and there was investigations and everything was going on. Even though it was a private Christian school that this was happening to, and the student, that they weren't teaching that in the Christian school. That kid had got transferred out of the other school that was doing that, the public school, I guess, that was teaching this in like the nursery class or something. It was crazy. And they have the whole town is like infected, from the sheriff to the people in the education system and all this, and the newspapers. I don't know what else, with these weird occult people who are pushing this weird agenda, and they were very strongly against any Christianity going on. So that was part of the story. Of course, his style is not going to be the same as mine. He inspired me to get into that type of storylines. of the invisible realm of things. That and Michael Heiser's book, The Unseen Realm, but that's more of that's not a fictional story. That's based on an interpretation of the Bible that he goes into. But I guess both those things together kind of inspired me, really. And then the fact that I'm dissatisfied with most all entertainment nowadays, and specifically Christian entertainment. Most of it is completely, I don't know, like it's too nice and slanted, I guess. I don't know. But mine's going to be my story that I wrote is about a man who can see demons, and it's called Doubting Against Faith, available now on Amazon. Hopefully, the second edition is now available with a much longer version and better editing and all that and structure. It was a learning process to get through the first one to understand how it all works. But now I think I'm going to be really happy with the second edition of Doubting Against Faith. Much longer version. Things changed in a little bit, just slightly, to make it more clear about some of the stuff that it was trying to convey. But my story is not, it's rated R. It's not for children. I use curse words. There's drug use. There's sexual content. It's not a Christian story in the way that that term Christian is used in the same way like a rated G or PG is like equivalent to that. No, it is a story of faith in Christianity, but it is not rated Christian or family friendly or anything like that. There is a different thing of that. That's why the term Christian to identify something is not good enough anymore. I'm a Christian. What the heck does that mean anymore these days? To say that, or this book is Christian, or it's not. What does that even mean? Is the Passion of the Christ Christian? Very violent, and Mel Gibson has problems. But anyway, I digress on that. I just know that it is a Christian story, or a story of someone coming to faith. The story is called Doubting Against Faith. Eventually, he will accept faith in Jesus. Eventually, but he doesn't want to, even though he can see demons. Trying to come up with an alternative answer to why. Something wrong with me. I don't know. Maybe I gave away too much of my story already. But I wanted to let people know that about my inspiration from Frank Peretti and Unseen Realm. And I wrote it in the first person. Feels right. You go on a ride, you're going to get in there, you're going to feel the way he feels, and you're going to get into it and you're going to see things and experience it the way the character does. To me, third person just felt like too hard of a way to write. It didn't make sense to experience a story. It's like someone telling a story about somebody else, and how does that, whoever's telling the story about that guy, how do they know what that guy was thinking? It's like God mode third person or secondary witness to the story, and they don't know the full inside of the head of the character. First person, you're limited in the perspective of that character, but you have all the inside thoughts of that person and everything that they're experiencing, whether it's hallucinations or like thoughts that aren't based in reality. They're insinuations, or I don't know what. I like it better, that style. But anyway, check it out. Doubting Against Faith, now available on Amazon. Link in the description. Also, check out my art on artpal.com/ManicMac.